Welcome to the Land to Lots podcast, powered by Launch Development Finance Advisors. And now your host, Carter Froelich.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Land to Lots podcast. My name is Carter Froelich, and it's great to be before you again here today. And in this episode, we're going to be continuing Pam Giss's interview of me related to the Fields to Fortune book. I hope you enjoy it.
The next step would be the competitive tax rate analysis. And this is always really enlightening. You want to talk about that and that process, and then also what we do with that information.
Yep. And this is so critical because in a lot of instances, at the end of the day, we are selling a lot to a home builder. The home builder is selling a home to a home buyer. And all the home builders really care about and the home buyers really care about is PITI. What is my principal, interest, taxes, and insurance? And what we're really focused on is the tax part. So what is our total effective tax rate vis-a-vis the competition? So we may be able to do just on a piece of paper a wonderful financing and be able to finance all sorts of infrastructure. But if we are pricing and baking in a tax rate which is way above the market, eventually that's going to get out, and people are, meaning the home buyers, are going to vote with their feet, and they're not going to buy houses because their taxes are so high. And so the first thing we do when we get into a bond sizing, we're identifying all of our eligible costs. But first and foremost, we're going out to see what our property tax rate is vis-a-vis the competition. And if there's a differential there between where we're at and where the competition is, we have the ability to increase our tax rate to that level so we're on par with the other competitive master plan communities or residential communities. And conceptually, our tax rate is similar to theirs. So people are going to be indifferent as it relates to property taxes, and they are going to buy in a specific community because they fell in love with the floor plan, they like the school district, it's closer to a park or an entertainment venue that they like. It'll be something other than taxes. And most residential buyers are very uninformed as it relates to property taxes. But we want to keep on getting Christmas cards from our home builders and from our land developers. So we want to make sure we're putting together a financing package that will allow them to sell lots and homes. And if we are going higher than the competition, we want to know that. We want to be able to tell our residents that, yes, your property tax rate is higher than others, and here's why. Here's all the benefits that are accruing to you, and let them make the decision. Or alternatively, if we're going higher because we think we can, we need to have plan B that allows us to bring down that tax rate to the competitive market if our assumptions are wrong. So this is all, and this is more of an art than a science, and it's just from us doing this for 42 years right now.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, dating ourselves again.
So there are plenty of examples of situations and projects where the competitive tax rate analysis has changed the way that we've structured a financing. But pick a favorite where it's moved the needle, and we can talk about that, with people. Yeah.
One of the one that really comes to mind is a project in Arizona called Verado. It's had a lot of different names. Started out as white tanks, and for those of our listening audience that may not be familiar with the Phoenix MSA, the Verado project was a top-selling master plan. It was designed by DMB in a joint venture with the Caterpillar Foundation. We've been involved with this thing for more years than I care to imagine. But we were originally brought in as part of the annexation process of the White Tanks project into what is now the city of Buckeye. And the thing you have to understand as it relates to the location of this property in Buckeye is that The school district in which a portion of the Verado project was located was at the time called the Ruth Fisher School District, and the Ruth Fisher School District contained the Palo Verde nuclear plant. So because of that, it had huge assessed valuation. Because the plant was providing huge assessed valuation to the school district, the property taxes were really, really, really low. And at this time in Arizona, everybody was setting up their tax rates at for the issuance of an ad valorem bond, a general obligation bond, at $3. Why $3? Not quite sure. That's what they decided, and everybody was happy with it. And this was about the time I got to Arizona. Well, we looked at that, the property tax differential, and we were involved in the pre-annexation agreement with the city. And I said, you know what? We want the ability to increase that ad valorem property tax rate to $10. And we got the $10. Why were we able to get the $10? Because we could increase our tax rate from the existing tax rate by $10, which is triple what everybody else was doing it, and still being at par with the competitive master plan communities in the area. And as a result of that financing, when you did the math on a $10 tax rate increase, it made the financing worth more than the land on a land residual. So that is the one that I really like. Now we got the $10 in the pre-annexation and development agreement. Later on, it was determined that they were only going to go $5. But here again, we built in the ability to go up to $10 without impacting the marketability of the project. And that project is nearing build out right now.
Yeah, that's one of those projects that has consistently been on the top 50 selling master plan communities in the country. So obviously, the higher tax rate hasn't impacted them at all.
No, not at all. And Pam, that's a good point. With the work that you do with RCLCO, and you've been doing it now for a number of years, where you're taking the top 50 selling master plan communities, and then looking at how they're financing their infrastructure. And it's pretty consistent that it's like 88% of all the lots that are being sold in the top 50 master plan communities in the U.S. all have some sort of district on it.
Right. It's if you want to get infrastructure built, it's hard to do it without some type of public finance incentive, particularly for those larger projects. So
and just for our listeners, we'll make sure that we put on the top 50 infrastructure drill down into our show notes so that you're able to see that, at least for the mid-year 2024.
Big plug for the top 50.
Yeah.
The other thing that we talk about quite a bit in our internal meetings, along with these other acronyms, is the RED analysis. And you talk about it in the book, and I think it would be helpful for you to go into a little bit of detail now to talk about what that is and how that impacts things.
Yeah. So the RED analysis stands for reduce, eliminate, and defer. And as I indicated previously, one of the things we always want to take a look at is the cash flow projections, so we have an understanding of when infrastructure is going to be built. Depending upon what state we're in, and there may be conditions of approval if we're in California. And to the extent that we're able to influence this as it relates to the development agreement, this is where it's critical. Or we'll take a look at an existing development agreement if we inherit one and see if we can renegotiate. But in my experience, when we're dealing with jurisdictions and the jurisdictions are impacting the entitlements, they want infrastructure constructed immediately. They want it built. They want the machine that goes ping, for our Monty Python, fans out there. And here again, I'm dating myself. So they want the machine that goes ping. They want the gold-plated infrastructure. They want it now. They don't want to pay for it, and they don't. They want you to operate it. I mean, the wish list of what cities are wanting just continues to grow, and So what we're really trying to do is look at the listing of eligible infrastructure, look at the conditions of approval, the development agreements, the phasing plan, the land use plan, and let's start going through the pro forma to see if there might be elements that we could reduce, eliminate, or defer. So, perfect example of how we might reduce infrastructure. We were brought in to restructure a project called Inspirata in Las Vegas. This is the first and only time, literally kicked out of the meeting with focus group because we said, maybe you don't want to issue all $102 million of bonds up front. And they said, you don't share our vision, get out. Literally kicked us out of the room. Anyway, long story short, they issued their $102 million of bonds, and we were brought in 5 years later to restructure that transaction by all the builders that inherited that. And as part of the agreement that the developer had cut with the city of Henderson was that they were going to put in, I forget the number, they're in the book, but like 32 tennis courts, 20 volleyball courts. I mean, it was just insane. It was complete overkill. And why was it overkill? Because the city wanted to be known as the park capital of Nevada. So they were really pushing the developers within the city of Henderson to have extravagant parks. Okay. The total cost of these, and this is in the early 2000s, was $60 million just for the improvements to the park, excluding the parkland. We went in, took that development agreement, and said, you know what? Let's skinny this down. There is no way people are going to be playing on 20 volleyball courts at the same time, sand volleyball courts. And we were able to whittle that down from 59 million to 19 million. So here again, that is one way we're able to reduce and eliminate costs. Another thing is oftentimes we'll see jurisdictions. Well, we want a 4-lane roadway with a center median, and we want that day one. And we'll say, okay, well, what if we just gave you the right of way and we just built the 2 lanes, traffic in each direction, and when we reach a certain traffic count, then we build the median in the other 2 lanes. Will that work for you? Oftentimes it will, because we don't need 4 lanes and a median day one. And here again, it's just, let's sit down and work as a public-private partnership. And we'll oftentimes ask the jurisdiction too, what is your vision? We want to help you achieve that vision, but we have to do it responsibly. I mean, just like you can't afford this infrastructure, you think we can? I mean, it's the same infrastructure. We need to work together so that we need to be able to tap into the municipal bond markets to achieve each other's vision, which we share. And how do we work collectively to do that? So, and that's a good example of deferring infrastructure, meaning that, we're still going to build it, but we're not going to build it right now. We'll build it when the traffic count reaches X. Right now we're at Y. So, and that is a very, very effective way to be able to enhance our IRRs. And here again, that's why we ask the question: are you nominal dollar or are you IRR? Nobody else does this. In consultants that I'm aware of, it's us. We do this. And why did we do it? Because we've been doing it for 42 years. There we go. Yeah.
Well, and that's a good segue, because one of the things that we've heard a lot about this year, and we hear a lot about it anyway, but is the development impact fees. And we have a development impact fee credit analysis that comes into play in a lot of these big projects. You want to talk about that and how that's going to impact the project as well?
Yeah. And so I'm going to go back in time. When I was at our original firm, Kenneth Leventhal in Orange County, where we started doing the first CFDs in the state of California, and we were building all of this infrastructure in Irvine. Our clients were Irvine Company, Rancho Mission Viejo. We started going, we're issuing these CFD bonds to build these big arterial roadways. Well, the city of Irvine and the county, they're collecting impact fees. And we're paying twice for this road, once through the CFD and once through the development impact fee. So what we did, and here again, nobody had done any of this stuff before. Yeah, and we were getting in to take a look at, what did the jurisdiction's development impact fee study include? What were the costs that were included? And so that we could go to the city and say, listen, we're building roadway A. So we think we should be getting credit for our builders when they're going to pull a permit because we're paying for roadway A through the CFD tax. We shouldn't have to pay it as part of a development impact fee. And as being the good accountants, we had our 10 key, here again, dating myself, and we were going, you know what? These columns don't even add up, and the numbers that they have in here don't even tie to the jurisdictional's impact, CIP. And if we change the numbers in the development impact fee study to what matches in the CIP, we lower the impact fee, and we correct the math there, we lowered by 25%. I bet you somebody would like to know about this. And so that's how we started getting involved in looking at development impact fee studies on behalf of, here again, we have no mixed loyalties, for the private sector, and which ultimately led us to being able to have me update the NHB's 2008 and 2016 impact fee handbook. And we just recently completed a short blurb for them. But we have litigated on behalf of BIAs around the country the issues of development impact fees. And it's not that we're against impact fees. I think the industry as a whole would be, we're supportive of impact fees. It's just when they become not fair and not equitable. And in my experience, the jurisdictions and the jurisdictional consultants go out and they try to get infrastructure financed or repaired on the backs of new growth, and that, or have new growth build infrastructure that's at a higher level of service than what the jurisdictions currently have. And that's against case law, and that's against Nolan and Dolan. So that's the background on development impact fees. But as part of it, reduce, eliminate, defer, we're going in, and that's a bucket. Hey guys, we are either paying through debt and equity to construct this roadway, or we are issuing a bond to build for this roadway. Either way, there's a credit. And when our builders go to pull a permit, we want to make sure that they're getting credit for this roadway that we're building. And then that way, it's just fair and it's equitable, and that's how we roll. Things have got to be fair and equitable.
So we've been through all these different analyses. We've had all these conversations with the client through and carried out the launch sequence. How does all of this come together to produce an optimal result?
Yep. So with all the puzzle pieces dumped on the table, with an understanding of where we're going, and now we can see, yes, this truly is a castle next to a lake, and we put the pieces together, we will prepare suggestions for our clients. Generally, there's 2 or 3 scenarios, and we will present those to our client and saying, based on everything you told us, based on the project's dangers, opportunities, and strengths, your return, the response to your return factor question, and our tax rate, our bond sizing, our cost segregation analysis, our RED analysis. Here's what we're suggesting you may want to consider. Plan A, B, and C. Just making that up for right now. We go through and we'll say pros and cons of plan A, B, and C. You guys make the decision. And if they ask us for our recommendation, we come with a recommendation. We like scenario B. Why do you like scenario B? We tell them why we like scenario B. You're not hiring wishy-washy people. If you're hiring us for our opinion, if you ask us our opinion, we will give you our opinion. Do you have to take our advice? No, you don't. You're the decider, but you're hiring us for our experience. We're going to give you our experience. So once we understand that we're going with, let's assume, scenario B, we then take the major aspects of scenario B and we put that in what we call the launch finance plan, which is a very short, easily understood, digestible document, maybe 3 to 5 pages. A number of those pages are pictures or numbers, very easy to understand, charts, primary colors, big font. And we take that to the jurisdiction and say, here is our project. Here is our developer. Here is what we're hoping to accomplish. Here are our costs. This is what we're asking the jurisdiction to do. We would like to finance this infrastructure with the district. We would like to have the city help us establish a reimbursement ordinance so that we can have the other benefiting landowners pay for offsite infrastructure. We would like, we understand that we are financing infrastructure that's currently included within the impact fee ordinance. We think we have a credit of X. And if we're renegotiating a development agreement, we may want them to look at different aspects of that development agreement to reduce, eliminate, defer. Or if we are getting into an annexation or development, we would like to say we would like to have a pre-annexation and development agreement or a development agreement with these key aspects in it. Here again, this is strictly related to financing, but we're laying it all out on the table because we need to make decisions, and we are transaction based, and we are putting it out on the table so that the jurisdictions, the staff, the electeds can react to it, and they can say, okay, we agree with this. Oh, you asked for sales tax reimbursements. Yeah, we did. Well, we don't feel comfortable giving you 70%. We'll give you 50%. At least we know where we're at. We know that, okay, we got this, we got that. They're not willing to do this unless we, build a left turn lane. Whatever the issues are, now we have our partners engaged. They are part of, meaning the city. And I shouldn't really call them partners, but they are. And we're working together to achieve that common vision, not only of the cities, but also of our project's vision. And with that information, we are then able to go back. We know where we stand. We can look at the financial implications of the negotiation items. We can go back and negotiate, or we can accept them. But now we can start putting together a schedule to start moving the formation of the district, the annexation, the development agreements, whatever they are, on parallel tracks so that we can get to the point where we can start putting shovels in the ground to deliver that project vision, which was the whole start of this conversation.
Here we go. So, Carter, if I wanted to get several copies of this to give as Mardi Gras gifts, how would I do that?
Well, you can go spend money on Amazon, or you can just call us and we'll ship a whole box to you. There's no charge. Here again, our goal, literally, this is our written goal at launch, is to be a hero to the land development and home building industry. If you call and say, I would like 50 books to hand out to our team, call us. We're going to give it to you. We want to give you our experience so that you can benefit from it, that you can consider it, that you can think about it. But we are here to be a service to you, our home builder and land developer clients.
You have been listening to the Land to Lots podcast with Carter Froelich. Follow us wherever you find your podcast to never miss a new episode.